Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we will talk about something called imaginary numbers. So what are they? You have probably heard about number lines. It is a one-dimensional line where you can put any number on it, like 0, 1, 2, 3, -1, -2, -3. 1 by no, 1 by 2, 1 by 2, 1 by 4. You can implement these on a number line, but there are something called imaginary numbers. So what are these numbers? But first we need to talk about something else. By else I mean history. So in the previous eras, we used just regular numbers like 1, 2, and 3. Let's say ancient humans, like, what they would use fractions and negative numbers for, as we do today. Like, they ask simple questions like, how many sheep are there? They would say 3 sheep. How would they even like to say there are 3¼ sheep there? It would be no mean. It would have no meaning. So ancient humans only used these numbers. But as we invented money, we got into fractions. Like, let's say 2 balls together cost $5. 2 balls together cost $5. Now, let's say I only want $1. One ball. Let's say I only want 1 ball. What would be its cost? We can simply say that 1 ball's cost would be 5 divided by 2. And 5 divided by 2, you can write it in decimal notation too. In 5 divided by 2 in decimal notation is just 2.5 dollars. It's just $2.5. Yeah. So we invented decimals and fractions when we invented money. But now we needed much more sophisticated. But we didn't even think of using negative numbers. Mathematicians back then didn't even dare to use negative numbers. They didn't like to use negative numbers because they simply thought it wouldn't even exist. Because let's say you have 2 balls and you subtract 3 balls. How can you get -1 balls? How can you get? But there is a simple answer to that. Depth. Yeah. So let's say there's a friend who wants $10 and you have $10. And let's say you have the $10. And then what did you do is that you gave that $10 to your friend. You gave the $10 to the friend. Now what? And now the friend has decided to keep your $10. So now what? The friend has decided to keep you the $10. So you can say you had a loss of $10. Or you can say you have minus $10 now. Yeah, wait. Yeah, now you can say that you have minus $10. Yeah, now what? So the same thing applies to the ball analogy. If we do the same thing, you will have a loss of 1 ball. Like, you have three balls and like you have two balls and your friend tries to take three, you will have a loss of one ball. Like you also have three, like you have, you can apply the same analogy like right here. Okay. So yeah, now what? So they didn't even try to use. It's back then when people were trying to solve cubics and stuff to find that the square root of negative numbers are important. Like you can also square root negative numbers. Back then people didn't even use to square root negative numbers. Like let's say, what is the square root of 4? It's obvious, it's 2, right? But there are two answers. I'll give you a second to figure out the second answer. Okay, first let's go back a bit. Square rooting means that let's say you are going to square root y. So what number? Let's say that x square is equal to y. So y square root is equals to x. You can say that y square root is equals to x because x square is equal to y. Okay, so you can say that. So now let's come back to our square root 4 one. Like what was the second answer? 2. So there was 2 because 2 times 2 is equals to 4 or 2 square is equals to 4. But you can also write negative 2 times negative 2 because minus times minus is equals to plus. Then we can also write it as 4. So we can say that the square root of 4 is equals to 2 and negative 2. The same analogy can be applied here. What can be the square root of 9? The square root of 9 is 3 because 3 times 3 is 9 or 3 square is equals to 9. But also negative 3 times negative 3 is also equal to 9. So square root of 9 is equals to 3 and negative 3. Okay, so we have cleared this out. So now what? Now we come to square roots properties. Like let's say you have a square root. Like let's say you have square root of 4. Like you can also write it as square root of 2 times square root of 2. Because 4 is equals to 2 times 2. Yeah, like you can distribute it. Like 4 is equals to 4 is equals to 2 times 2. So square root of 2 times square root of 2 is equals to square root of 4. You can say that. So now let's say we want to square root a negative number. Let's say we want to square root, let's say negative 10. So how would you write it now? I'll give you a second because it's just simple maths. Yeah, so you can just write down negative 10 as square root of 10 times square root of negative 1. You can write it like that, or you can write it as like square root of negative 5 times square root of 2. And in which case you will get square root of 5 times square root of negative 1 times square root of 2, which is square root of 5 and square root of 2 times square root of 2 is obviously square root of 10 times square root of -1. You get this equation only. So now we can, but how can we define square root of 1? Which two numbers make this number? There is no answer on the number line. You can search for any number. Like, let's figure that on the number line. Let me draw it. Yeah. Let's say here is 9, 0. So we want to find the square root of 9. So we want to find a square. So we want to multiply 3 times 3. So we'll move 3 times, like 1, 2, 3. If we move 3 steps for 3 times, we'll get 9. So we can say that square root of 9 is equals to 3. But how can you say about square root of numbers like -10? Like let's say you have both negative numbers. A negative number times a negative number is always a positive number. Let's say here's a negative number and you multiply it back by a negative number. You get back a positive. And let's say you have both positive numbers, which obviously it will result in a positive number. So how can you get negative number? How can you get the square root of negative numbers? Here is my question. So here we can just simplify it. Like we can get, like if you multiply two negative numbers, we get a angle of 180 degrees on the number line, right? What if we make that angle 90 degrees? So this times this will obviously encounter a negative number. So there must be a third line. So the number line wasn't complete. So what can we do? So we defined square root of -1. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. We defined square root of -1 as an imaginary number. Wait. Yeah, we name square root of -1 as an imaginary number. Or we just write square root of -1 as just I. Yeah. So the third dimension was I. So we can just write it down. Wait. We can write it down as like this. Wait, let me zoom out a bit because it's, yeah, I want to make bigger. So yeah. Sorry, I have cough. So yeah, it isn't a line but a two-dimensional. It's two-dimensional. The other dimension is just I. Here's negative I, here's positive I. Here's negative numbers, here's positive numbers. Did you get that? Right. So now, how can we express the first square root, like square root of 10, square root of negative 10? So how can we express that? So square root of negative 10, think about it. I'll give you that. So keep that in mind. Square root of negative 1 is I. So it can be represented as square root of 10i. Get that? Because we can like multiply it. So we can get square root of 10i. So we can just like write it down as 10i. So we can just write it down as 10i. 10i. So here you go. Square root of negative 10 is 10i. That was the hidden dimension. So, just to recap, you have probably heard about number line. It contains all the possible numbers, pi, rational numbers, fractions, decimals, everything. But we can square root stuff. That square root is equals to which number, if squared, gets the number in the square root. So that is the square root. So, but how can we square root negative numbers? Because negative numbers times negative numbers is a positive number. So we named the square root of negative 1. We name the square root of negative number as I, or imaginary. And if we want to find any like square root of a negative number, we can just write in terms of I, like 10i, 20i, like whatever. And the number line isn't complete because we don't have I. So it is a two-dimensional. So it is two-dimensional. Like here's the positive number, negative numbers, positive I and negative I. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.